Someone left a very interesting comment on my video, and it was very short and it's very interesting. 220 people liked this little short comment. It was only, "I'm 79," and then there was 15 words that came after that. So 15 words, and it's an intriguing comment. It's like, what does this commenter mean? Well, I guess 220 people thought they knew right off the bat. And then there are additional 40 comments as well, 40 comments about this. So that's going to be the discussion today. Some of the comments were also, their interpretation was very interesting. And I'll go ahead and read you the comment, put it up here. It said, "I'm 79, right? Okay, here's the 15 words. The way this world is going, I'm quite glad I won't be around much longer." And then there was a smiley face. So I think the smiley face added a lot to it because it wasn't angry, it wasn't, dramatic, it was kind of peaceful looking. So when I looked at this comment, I realized a lot of people agreed with it. It's kind of a type of comment that when you see it, your gut reaction is, yes, I know what they mean. I understand. Even if that's not exactly the way you were thinking, you were saying, yeah, I could understand somebody feeling like that. That was my first impression. And but I read the comments. Would you think it was fear, or politics, or desperation or something? I don't think so. Just looking at the smiley face at the end, and they said they did say they were quite glad, and so that two things there kind of molded my interpretation. I'll tell you what my interpretation was, plus I looked at all the 40 plus comments, and I will let you know what they said. And it kind of opened up some good discussion matter. One of them was, we lived in the best, baby boomers lived in the best time period ever. If we had to live in a certain period of time in history, we struck it gold. We were the best time period. And I want to know what you think about that. But I'm going to go ahead and play this 7-second introduction to the video. And while I'm doing that, why don't you let me know what you think? I'm 79. The way this world is going, I'm quite glad I won't be around much longer. So after reading 40-something comments, I realized something, that people were not, they were not predicting a disaster. This could have turned negative real easy about doom and gloom for the future, but it wasn't that at all. I think a number of people said things like I said, we lived in the best years. We lived in the best years. That's another very powerful quote, just for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. We lived in the best years. So do you think that's true, baby boomers? We were born, 1946 through 64. The oldest baby boomer is now turning 80 this year in 2026. And, looking back, it's sad. I wouldn't want to roll. I'm not one that wants to roll the clock back. However, I do think that was a pretty unique period we grew up in. A lot of us grew up in small towns, and then moved to the city for a job. But when we were growing up, oh my gosh, we were free to do anything we wanted to do. We could ride our bikes all over town in a small town. That screen door was popping and heading out in the morning, and we'd be gone all day until it got dark. If you went to college, you could actually afford to go to college, It was very, very cheap. You may have to get a loan like I did, but I paid every penny back. And, and you got a job. You could get a job, even though when I graduated in 1970, it was a recession, but still, I got a job and got started. So the times were different. And I don't want to roll the clock back, but people were more trusting. There was no cell phones. We had conversations. We were not on the computer all the time because there was no computers around. I guess that puts a different spin on it when your whole life is ahead of you and you're trying to buy a house and get married, raise a family. All the things that we did. You had to be pretty optimistic about things and to keep going, and we were. But it was just a very different time back then than it is now. What do you think about that? Do we live in the best time ever? Another person said, now, I'm not saying it was perfect. It wasn't. We had Vietnam, we had recessions, we had plenty of problems, but again, many of us felt like it was a hopeful time. That's quite a difference than today. I think younger people today don't sound so hopeful. They think, well, it's hard to get a job. AI is coming along and throwing a monkey wrench into things. They don't think they'll ever be able to retire. You can sense a little resentment when you were retired, and they're saying, I won't be able to retire. Another one was talking about change. So when you're older, we've had a whole life of change, right? I mean, my gosh, we were used to change. We were the change. We were the change. The baby boomers were the change in our time. We were the change. It's no doubt. And we had new music, new ideas, new culture. And it's an exciting time. It was really exciting time to be alive, and especially like me and my wife, we left little small towns in Georgia and moved to the city, and everything was real exciting. And everybody all that wave of baby boomers was moving to the cities at the same time as we were. There was adult apartments and parties, and we were traveling places we've never been to, and that sort of thing. So, but change can be scary when you get older. So now, we're say if you're like me in the late 70s, 65 plus, let's just say that. Change could be a little different. We learned the internet. I bought Dreamweaver 1.0 and from CompUSA and brought it home, learned how to do websites. I mean, we did all that stuff. It's harder to keep pace when you get older to technology. I mean, I've reset 3 printers this last 6 months. I'm 79. The way the world is going, I'm quite glad I won't be around much longer. Maybe they're just tired of adapting. You adapt your whole life, right? And they talk about the wonderful things coming, but I don't know. Here's my take. We've lived our life, we've adapted, we've grown, we've been optimistic, we've built our life, and now we're in retirement, and we're slowing down, enjoying retirement, and we're quite satisfied with that. We think we lived in the best time ever, and it's not that we're doom and gloom about the future. It's just that we're satisfied with what our life span will be naturally. We're not trying to die early. We want to live as long as possible, as long as we're healthy. But, we don't feel like we've missed out on anything. We've done enough, changing and adapting. And so that's what I think. I'm generally an optimistic person still, even in old age, but that's what I come out of the thing. What do you think? Let me know in the comments there. Well, another person, let's see, other things is, it's different today, and this is bring out more differences between our life so far and what is turned out to be, I guess, what is turning out to be more louder, more commercial. People doesn't seem to be quite as friendly. It's not bad. It's just not what it was. And I think that's what he meant by the world, the way the world is turning out, the trend we see. And that could be a negative spin, but it just didn't feel like ours anymore. We're very familiar with our world. And as you slow down and as you age, things we're not going to work. learning the newest technology at work anymore. We're not going to conferences and seminars. And so when things change, I'm seeing that across the board in society. My buddy Cliff and I, we like to go to Dunkin' Donut after we walk about every 2 weeks. And you know how us old timers do. We chat things over and talk about the stock market and the economy and solve the world's problems, you know. And we went to Dunkin' Donut, and we've been going for a long time. We walk in there, and they point to this kiosk, and they said, "There's nobody at the counter. Use the kiosk to order your donut and your coffee." And Cliff got on there, and 15 minutes later, we were trying to figure out how to order. I think they came over and helped us. I mean, it's sad. It's, you know, you feel like you're being left out. This is a different world. We did the same thing ordering a hamburger at lunch. You know, there was nobody there. They're like, order here. Now, young people look at that differently. They look at that as being more efficient. Technology is another thing that's hard to keep up with. That really is. What else? Another comment that struck me was someone saying, "I have just a few things left to finish." This poster said, "I have just a few things left to finish," I guess in his life. "Make amends with my brother, then I've had quite enough." Okay, that word quiet comes around. I have just a few things left. I want to make up with my brother. And you know, that's not fear. That's just completion of life there. Well, please join me next time, and I'll have another video about an entirely different topic. I'm Robert. Thanks for watching.